It's 28 minutes to 11, a live 90.5 Spotlight with Jim and Darryn.
We're very fortunate on this show to have people who make a difference to people's lives, and last night at Riverside Theatre was one of those nights, and I'm going to be talking to this morning Craig McMaster, the director, and I say new director of Riverside Theatre at Parramatta. Just an outstanding night. Good morning to you, Craig, on behalf of Darryn and myself on Spotlight.
Good morning, guys. How are you? Thanks for having me on.
Really good. Look, I just wanted to congratulate you on behalf of Spotlight for last night. I thought you and your team put together a fantastic tribute to a wonderful person who has brought so much joy, and of course that's Robert Love. And I know we're going to be talking to you, but can I just say that I know you really want to just say a few words about that, because it was just such a fantastic evening.
Yeah, look, thanks very much, Jim. I'm glad you enjoyed it. We certainly enjoyed putting it together for Robert. Robert, as you know, has been the director at Riverside Theatres up until a few months ago for almost 21 years. Robert has done an extraordinary job in that time of positioning and growing Riverside to become the iconic venue that it is today in Western Sydney. He launched and developed the National Theatre of Parramatta, which has gone from strength to strength and is now one of Australia's leading independent theatre companies. And Riverside, as you know, is one of the busiest venues in Australia, notwithstanding the challenges that we've had to work through in the last year or so with COVID. Look, Robert, I cannot pay enough of a tribute to Robert. He's been an incredibly influential person in the theatre industry in Australia, outside of even beyond the Parramatta area. And I know that, in his decision to move on from Riverside, it was time for a change. After 21 years, he's still active and going to be active in the arts industry, contributing. We're looking forward to seeing what he will do next. And it was a real privilege to host him in the venue last night. And for the first time, for him to be the recipient of one of the shows that was being put on, rather than the person organising it or coordinating it. Look, I've just a few minutes ago received a very lovely thank you note from Robert for saying what a wonderful time he had last night, and how fitting he felt it was for him. So, it was a great night. Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you, Craig, again on behalf of Spotlight, Darryn and myself, for making that happen and to bring together those colourful people who've been able to knit together a fabric about him and his life over those 21 years. I now want to turn my attention to you specifically. Craig, you've been, if I can just say, and I don't want to embarrass you, have done so much in the theatre world, and it really is incredible. Where did it all start, and how did it start for you in your journey?
Look, in all honesty, Jim, it started when I was about 12 years of age, when I went to my first theatre production, which was at the Capitol Theatre, and I went to see the original, Harry and Miller's original production of Jesus Christ Superstar. And I'd never been to a live theatre show of that sort before, and it just rocked my world. I mean, there's no other way to say it. On that day, I just fell in love with the theatre, and I then maintained a sort of an interest and passion in live performance over the coming years. I eventually ended up working for Hoyts Corporation. After some time in the hospitality industry. When I was at Hoyts, I had some involvement with, through our enterprise group, with a part of the business that invested in theatre productions, and we were one of the principal investors of Cameron Mackintosh's Founder of the Opera, when it was at the Theatre Royal, way back in the 90s, or late 80s, early 90s. And my journey sort of started from there. I was with Hoyts for many years. I then spent some time with Village Roadshow in family entertainment centres. I was then fortunate enough to be recruited, headhunted to head up Ticketek Australia, and went on to become their chief executive there, and had a fantastic time working and growing that organisation. And I'm very proud of the work that we did in restructuring and rebuilding Ticketek at that time. And I think we created the platform at that time, which went on to deliver the Sydney 2000 Olympics. And just extraordinary time in my life, that 5 or 6 years. And everyone knows what Ticketek and TEG has become today. It's gone on to become an extraordinary global business, something of which I'm happy that I played a small part. I then headed up a fantastic business called Showbiz Australia for 12 years, and then spent some time building stadiums and working in the stadium industry. And then, as you know, Jim, a few years back was responsible as a project lead on the Sydney Coliseum theatre development out at Western Sydney and at Ruddy Hill at West HQ. Unfortunately, COVID brought my journey there to an end, and that's when Robert and I reconnected, and I was able to come in as a consultant originally to help the City of Parramatta and Robert progress the redevelopment project here at Riverside Theatre, which had sort of stalled a little bit. So I sort of took the lead on rebooting that. And then when Robert announced his plans to move on, he encouraged me very, very positively to throw my hat in the ring. And the rest is, as they say, history. Here I am, standing in Robert's office.
Wonderful. And what a lovely career that you've shared with us and our listeners, and really applaud you for the journey you've been on. Some really supercharged items there early in your career with the theatre and Phantom of the Opera and getting hooked on Jesus Christ Superstar. Now, with all that, a question for you, if I may there, Craig. What do you really want to bring to Parramatta from that very varied career that you have? You'll have a passion piece, and yes, there's business, and the business of theatre must be profitable. But what's your passion that you'll bring into Parramatta and Riverside?
That's a great question. Thank you. My passion is the importance that art plays in people's lives. And I think if we can just reflect back on the last 18 months of COVID, for the first time probably in your lifetime or Jim's and certainly in my lifetime, I was in a position where I couldn't share an experience with an audience for an extended period of time. And I tell you, if you ever wanted to know just how important those moments in our lives are, those moments of shared experience where we sit in a dark room, whether it's in a cinema or whether it's for the opening of a blockbuster film, or whether it's in a theatre for an incredible live dramatic or theatrical or musical performance. When all of a sudden all of that was taken away, I don't know about you guys, but life just felt a little bit emptier and a little bit more dull and a little less joyous. So I think one of the things that I hope that we can bring through Riverside is to make sure that culture of shared joy continues to prosper in our community, because I think it's incredibly important. I think we want to continue to really focus on the introduction of theatre and live performing arts to young people. Young people have so many choices for their entertainment digitally these days, but it's important that they connect with other people in audiences, and they connect with the very rare and unique art form that live performance is, because there is nothing like it. We often in our industry talk about live is best, and you cannot equal in any digital format. As big a fan as I am of digital distribution, you cannot equal the live experience of being in an audience in a full house for a cracking, dramatic performance or musical or live music show. So I hope we can continue to bring that joy of live performance to people. And then one of the big things I'm hopeful that we can really bring is an exciting and redeveloped Riverside Theatres for the future, which will take us into the next 20-odd years, with a redeveloped facility that is capable of doing world-class productions equal to anything that you would see in the Sydney CBD or Melbourne CBD. That's certainly our aspiration, and that's something that we're working very hard with council at the moment to bring to fruition.
Really delighted to have on the line Craig McMaster, the director of Riverside Theatre at Parramatta, explaining his vision about where Riverside Theatre will hopefully be, and we know under his powerful leadership, Darryn, it will take place. He's a great innovative and a great professional. We're going to go to a little break, and we're going to come back and find out a little bit more about what's happening over the next 6 months at Riverside. Thanks for joining us on Spotlight.
Alive 90.5.
It's 13 minutes to 11. Live 90.5 Spotlight with Jim and Darryn.
Really delighted to have on the line Craig McMaster, the director of Riverside Theatre Parramatta, telling us about his life and his journey, which has been incredible, and now what's playing out with what's happening for 22 at Parramatta, and Riverside is just so excited and lots of energy happening there. So Craig, please tell our listeners what's happening over the next couple of months, because you really have some fantastic shows coming about, and listeners, you've got to get there and see this great work.
Thanks very much, Jim. We are very excited. As I said before, it's been a tough year and a half in the theatre business, and a lot of productions have been cancelled or rescheduled. And it's been a real hole in all of our lives not to be able to present and welcome people in the theatre. So the fact that we've got such an exciting program coming forward is such a huge thrill for me to present. We kick off in the next couple of weeks. We just reopened just a few weeks back. So we just had a fantastic season of Wayne and Katie Kermont's Speakerlesque in here, which we had audiences rolling in the aisles every night, laughing at this fantastic vaudevillian cabaret style show that Wayne does so well. And we'll be looking forward to having them come back later next year. We in a couple of weeks' time, we open with the Australian premiere of a fantastic new kids show called Just Live on Stage, which is based on the books of Australian author Andy Griffiths. There's a whole series of books, Just Tricking, Just Annoying, Just Stupid. Any parent out there will know the Just stories. So this is the first live version of those stories. Australian premiere here at Riverside Theatres, opening in late December, just before Christmas. We then go into what I think is one of the most exciting Sydney Festival programs we've ever had here at Riverside Theatres. Under new director Olivia Ansell at the Sydney Festival, the program that has been put together for the Festival 22 is quite amazing, and we are a very grateful beneficiary of that program. We're opening with some spectacular theatre shows: 7 Methods of Killing Kylie Jenner by Jasmine Lee Jones, which is was a hit production at Darlinghurst Theatre Company, Green Door production last year. We have a fantastic international production from Javad Alipour's group out of Manchester in the UK, Things Hidden Since the Foundation of the World, and Rich Kids, A History of Shopping Malls in Tehran, both co-presented with our own National Theatre of Parramatta and the Sydney Festival. And then we kick off with a 2-week season, or 2.5-week season, of the fantastic production of A Chorus Line. And this production of A Chorus Line is directed by powerhouse choreographer Amy Campbell. It's one of the most famous theatrical shows of all time, as of course you would know. This new production only ever made it to preview. It went through rehearsal at the Darlinghurst Theatre last year. They got to the first preview, and unfortunately they got COVID cancelled after their first preview. So it's never actually premiered as such on stage. So we are actually thrilled to be having the official Australian premiere of this production of A Chorus Line in partnership with Sydney Festival and the Darlinghurst Theatre Company here at Riverside, starting from Thursday, the 6th of January. And as I said, 2 weeks plus, about 16 performances altogether. Tickets from just $89, and it will be a cracking night at the theatre. So we encourage your listeners and everybody out there to come along and have a look at that. Also under Sydney Festival, we've got another great kids production called Zoom by the Patch Theatre Company, which will come through in the latter part of January. And then we finish off the festival with what I think will be one of the most beautiful musical events that we'll have at the theatre in recent time, which is Katie Noonan, one of the great voices of this country, presenting her new album, The Sweetest Taboo, doing it live for the first time. She's an ARIA-winning artist, and the premiere of this album will be really something special. It's a beautiful album for anybody who hasn't heard it before, and we're doing that in partnership with the Sydney Improvised Music Association as well, and Sydney Festival. So,
Craig,
that's
just January, isn't it? And early Feb. No, that's great.
That's just January.
But I know there's some great stuff coming up, including one of my favourites. It's Gladdy, that's coming back live as well. The Wharf Review.
Yeah. So we jump into February and March with, first of all, Mamma Mia, which is the Pakenham Productions return production, which is selling its pants off and doing really well. And then we crack straight into the Wharf Review in early March. And we're thrilled that the team from Wharf Review are coming back. And Jim, you'd have seen that wonderful little vignette that they did in last night's celebration, which a lovely little teaser.
Yes.
And so the Wharf guys are in great form, and they've got some fun stuff they'll be playing with the journey that we've been through in the last couple of years. So really excited. They're absolute favourites here of the Riverside family and of our audiences, and those productions always sell out. So I'd encourage your listeners to jump in quickly and grab their tickets for the Wharf Review. And then we really just jump into just a non-stop program there. We've got kids programs with 13-Story Treehouse. We've got Clock and Spiel's production of Freud's Last Session, which is a fabulous play in mid-March as well. National Theatre Parramatta's production of The Orange Thrower, another Australian and in fact world premiere of a wonderful production called Alphabetical Sydney, which written by Hilary Bell and Antonia Pezzenti, and which is starring the wonderful music by Greta Gerbler, Justin Clark's in that show from Play School. That'll be a wonderful one for the kids. We're really excited about that. And then we go on into really a fantastic program of kids product for our education program as we head towards the middle of the year. But that's pretty much only just up until sort of May, June. And then so we'll release our next phase of program in a little while. But there's going to be plenty there as we go through the balance of the year for sure.
Well, Craig, we have our little breaks. We would be absolutely delighted if you, throughout next year, would come on and share with us what's happening in Riverside. Tell our listeners, create so much energy, you ooze so much enthusiasm. We just love talking to you, and I hope you would take up our invitation. To you and your staff, a very Merry Christmas. We thank you for what you do for people in Parramatta and the surrounding areas. Thanks for joining us on Spotlight with Darryn and myself this morning.
Jim, absolute pleasure, and I will certainly take you up and be very happy to talk to you guys on a regular basis and give you an update of what we're doing and tell you where we're at with our redevelopment and keep the listeners informed of the exciting things that are going to be happening at Riverside over the course of 22 and as we go into 23. So look forward to those opportunities. Jim, you have a good Christmas as well, you and Darryn.
Thank you very much. Have a great morning.
All right.